So I've gotten some questions recently in my comments based on my building permit video that I did a while ago about adding a separate entrance and permit drawings. So my recommendation would be you should probably hire an engineer to get those drawings done. Yes, it is a little more expensive. You're gonna need to get the engineer because you're cutting a hole in the side of your house. Whether it's for a window or a door, it's kind of the same thing. But that window or door was not planned for when the house was made. And understanding that structure and providing the appropriate drawings, not just to the city for installing that door or creating that open and reinforcing that hole in the wall that you're going to be making, is that you need to be also be able to give those drawings to the person making the hole in your building envelope and reinforcing that opening and putting in the door or window. They need to know what to execute properly as well. I would love to tell you that that's something you could do. I, as somebody who's been in the trades a long time, am not comfortable offering that drawing to a professional that I'm hiring. I will hire an engineer. The reason being, I want to make sure it's done properly. I want to make sure it lasts as long as it can. I also do not want the liability. So when the engineer comes along and they put the stamp on the drawing, that means they're assuming liability. The other thing to understand as you're moving into this is that the city or municipality that is doing the inspections is also assuming some of the liability. They want to make sure it's done properly. So they're going to be a real stickler. And I'm going to explain for a couple of reasons. Let's just say we're going to tell a story here. So your neighbor comes over and you've had this opening built and it's been fine for 2 years and you didn't get a permit and you did the drawings and or you got a permit and you did the drawings, right? And the plans engineer or the plans examiner was asleep at the wheel and they're like, yeah, it's fine. They stamp it. Okay. That opening collapses while your neighbor's in it and they get injured and they say, I'm going to sue because they're hurt, right? They let's not get into too much detail about how they got hurt. That's not part of the purpose we're doing this. Now you get sued and you get sued for more money than you have. You know, lawyers are going to sue for as much as they can get. Let's say you're getting sued for $2 million. Well, you don't have $2 million. Let's say you only have 500 grand that you can give to this, or that your insurance company is willing to say, or your insurance company goes, look, we're absolved of all responsibility because this was inspected by the city. The city is liable because they approved these drawings. The city now has to pay that 2 million bucks because they went through and they inspected and they approved the drawings. So this is why it's very important to make sure that you're getting it done properly and having an engineer do it. I don't know what an engineer costs now. Back then, you know, you're looking at $750 to $1,000. If you're cutting an opening in the side of your house, I would like that peace of mind. But number two, you're going to pay probably 5 grand, 7 grand to cut the opening, reinforce the opening, install a door, install a doorbell. You know, you got to, the demo alone will be extensive. You might be cutting some of the foundation. All of this needs to be reinforced properly. So that cost for the engineer is relatively small compared to what you're taking on. Yes, it is extra cost. Everybody's on a budget. Well, if that cost is what's going to prevent you from doing it, then you're probably operating outside your budget to begin with. I know that's judgmental, but I'm sorry. Not everybody can afford to do everything they want. I mean, I can't. I'm trying to do stuff in my house, and I got to do it in stages because it costs more than I have. So please be advised, anytime you're cutting a hole in the side of your house that wasn't planned to be there, you're going to need to figure out how you're going to reinforce that opening properly. And that's an engineer's job. So your house is designed to have all the weight pushed down onto the foundation. When you create an opening in that wall, you're creating a cavity that is no longer structurally sound. You have compromised the building envelope. Now you need to rebuild that structure so that it is no longer compromised. And I, having done this a long time, could tell you, yeah, you probably need X, Y, and Z, but there's some calculations that have gone into building that specific roof and that specific wall system and that specific foundation that needs to be accounted for. And that's why you hire the engineer. You're cutting in a window. Egress windows are things that a lot of people want to do because they want to put in basement apartments where I live. They are, I would say, between 5 and 6 grand to do, depending on whether you're making an existing window larger or you're cutting a window in from scratch. Though that structural compromise needs to be accounted for, even though it's just a window. And you have different types of roofs, and some areas may be less structurally uh, sound, or like if you have a gable roof where the wall is in the front doesn't carry a ton of weight, it's your outside walls of the gables that carry most of it, but still you're compromising the building envelope. You need to reinforce that with a lintel, with the masonry work, with the framing of the floor system. There's a lot that goes in. So you want to be sure that you hire an engineer. That's my point of view. If you're not doing anything structural, it's usually with basements, you're not dealing with anything structural. You're not going to be moving posts. You're not going to be changing beams for the most part. You you won't need an engineer to do your drawings. I kind of advise people like, hey, you could try to do the drawings on your own. You're going to save about $1,000 maybe. Um, you're going to take time, take a lot of back and forth. Even my own basement, the city changed their requirements and I had to do a lot of back and forth with them. The windows aren't big enough and this isn't big enough and you need to add this. What about this? And I was like, holy smokes, a lot's changed in the last few years. So please be sure that when you're cutting a hole in the side of your house, you are getting drawings and an engineer. I'm sorry to tell you that it's going to cost you more money. That being said, if you have any other questions, comments, I'm going to try to do some of this randomly. I'd love to tell you I'm going to do more of this all the time, but we all know that that's harder than it looks. Uh, as always, good luck on your project, and thanks for watching.